visa restrictions on Venezuelans, our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Tuesday, August 15th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. The visa restrictions consideration comes as a result of the political situation in the South American country, where opposition forces are seeking to remove President Nicolas Maduro from power. Prime Minister Alan Chastany of St. Lucia said he has asked the Ministry of Immigration to prepare a document in relation to the visa restrictions for consideration by Cabinet. And he says once there are no impediments to imposing those restrictions, they will be implemented. Chastany says he remains deeply concerned about the security threat to St. Lucia and the region from the Venezuela situation.
If in fact the government is continuing to struggle to maintain law and order in Venezuela, we've seen an increase in the production of drugs coming out of Colombia, that people are short of cash, and therefore people are bringing drugs and bringing arms to sell in St. Lucia and other Caribbean islands. We are 6 to 8 hours away by a fast boat. That's your doorstep.
However, Chastany reiterated his government's position against foreign intervention in Venezuela. His comments came on the heels of United States President Donald Trump warning that he would not rule out a military option to quell the chaos in the South American country. Chastany says St. Lucia would not support any foreign intervention in Venezuela.
Well, certainly St. Lucia has always been in the position that we would not support any foreign intervention into Venezuela, whether that be the United States or anybody else from this hemisphere or outside this hemisphere. I had a long talk with my ambassador and my Minister of Foreign Affairs. I think that as a hemisphere that we have failed. We have failed in terms of establishing very clear parameters in terms of how we're going to solve problems in this region. So continuously you're seeing situations like Venezuela arise, and we're struggling to find a solution to the problem.
Meantime, former St. Kitts Nevis Prime Minister Dr. Denzil Douglas on Tuesday described the move by Chastany as unprecedented, and he urged other CARICOM leaders not to follow his lead. In an interview with CMC News, Dr. Douglas said going that route would further isolate Venezuela. He said regional leaders should think how visa restrictions could affect the people of Venezuela, especially those who are genuinely attempting to move from a situation that has become too difficult to handle.
Venezuela has been, as you're aware, a friend of the Caribbean over the years. And even though it has gone through this very difficult period of economic and financial crisis, we had seen Venezuela still basically opening its arms to the people of the Caribbean. In fact, my own country, you know, we had the Prime Minister, Dr. Harris, going into Venezuela, even under a severe crisis situation there, literally asking, again, for financial support for St. Kitts and Nevis. I think it is really a difficult one for me to contemplate, in the sense that aren't we going to further isolate Venezuela if this is to be pursued?
The former Kittitian leader did agree with Chastany on one thing, though, that the U.S. should not take any military action, as President Trump suggested it could. Dr. Douglas said it's not something the region would want to accept.
I believe that the people of the Caribbean and the leaders of the Caribbean would want to urge the United States government, specifically the remark made by President Trump, to be seen as an extreme situation. We know that things are very difficult, but at the end of the day, we do not think that military intervention would be the solution to the problem in Venezuela. We have seen where military interventions around the world in the past have not really led to the desired solutions that we are looking for. And we would urge, I would hope, that the CARICOM leaders would be urged to speak forthrightly and frankly to the United States powers that be, so that this, of course, would be a last resort.
Meanwhile, at least one Caribbean country has made it clear it won't be going the same route as St. Lucia. Antigua and Barbuda's Foreign Affairs Minister Charles Fernandez says his country sees no reason to take any such action at this time. But, like Dr. Douglas, he agreed with the St. Lucia's Prime Minister position against foreign intervention in Venezuela.
I think the position of CARICOM is quite clear. CARICOM, the majority of countries in CARICOM are opposed to any kind of intervention. As a matter of fact, CARICOM is pushing to offer itself as mediator to settlement what's going on in Venezuela. There's concern for safety and what is happening there in terms of the people. It is a complex issue. There's an election that is due in December, and the presidential election is due next year. And we believe that this matter should be settled internally by peaceful means.
Well, President Maduro has ordered the armed forces of his country to hold exercises following the American president's comments about military intervention. In a televised speech, Maduro said Venezuelans had to be prepared to defend the country against the imperialist boot. The drill is expected to take place August 26th and 27th. The Maduro administration says Trump's move bolsters its oft-repeated claim that Washington has designs on grabbing control of Venezuela's proven oil reserves, the largest in the world. The U.S. Defense Department said Monday it had received no orders from Trump to ready any sort of military action against Venezuela. Meantime, that country's defense minister, speaking to a rally of troops, says the U.S. would be foolish to attack his country.
We do not admit into our country the imperialist lords of the government of the United States. It seems to us a delirious attitude, a threatening attitude, a crazy attitude to threaten Venezuela with weapons.
More than 120 people have been killed since anti-government protests began in April, driven by outrage over Venezuela's economic crisis and Maduro's creation of a legislative superbody that critics say is dictatorial. Maduro said Trump's advisors had confused him about the true situation in Venezuela. Still to come in Caribbean Newsline, over 100 tourism workers in Trinidad and Tobago sent home. The details of that story and more after this break.
Carry Festa for you, carry Festa for me, carry Festa 13 Barbados. Carry Festa for you, carry Festa for me, carry Festa 13 Barbados. Over the years, since the 70s, they've come together in the Caribbean. Talented artists inspire creativity. Every territory exploded culturally. Carry Festa for you, carry Festa for me, carry Festa 13 for everybody. Mutual heritage, regional unity. Carry Festa 13 Barbados.
The government of Dominica and Discover Dominica Authority welcomes you to the most unique Caribbean island, Dominica. Bursting with life, with energy, Dominica enraptures you in the vibrancy of the 20th edition of the World Creole Music Festival, October 27th, 28th, and 29th. Windsor Bank Sports Stadium, Roseau, Dominica, featuring Marshall Montano, Sweet Mickey, Movado, Kalasha, Bungie and Fayan, Class, Sakai, Zuko Stars, Roman Virgo, Itana, Issa Banton, Triple K International, Yemi Holiday, Musical All Stars, Breathe, Swinging Stars, and more. Be part of the spectacle. This is the World Creole Music Festival, held in the nature island of the world, Dominica. Season tickets US $1 125 or 325 EC. Nightly tickets US 48 or 120 EC. Visit DominicaFestivals.com where you will yearn for more. Say Mizikanu.
Dominica.
We continue in Trinidad and Tobago, where more than 100 workers of the Tourism Development Company, the TDC, have lost their jobs. They received their retrenchment letters on Monday. The development comes 5 months after Tourism Minister Shamfa Kujo announced that the TDC would be dissolved and replaced with 2 separate entities to deal with tourism in the Twin Island Republic. Workers were given 45 days notice of their retrenchment, which takes effect on September 28th. But they don't have to report to work anymore and will continue to enjoy all of their terms and conditions of employment that normally apply until September 28th. The process was in compliance with the Retrenchment and Severance Benefits Act and the decisions of the Industrial Court and Court of Appeal, which had both criticized the company over its move to retrench the workers without consulting the union earlier this year. But some of the retrenched workers feel hard done by. We get more in the CNC3 news report.
7 months pregnant and officially retrenched, Tennille Braffett has worked with the TDC for the past 7 years and was today in tears as she left the company's Barataria office.
I understand it's supposed to be a happy time for me, but my colleagues, it's a very stressful thing the government is doing to us, sending us home. No compassion at all. You understand? But God is good, right? He will see us through.
Communication Workers Union General Secretary Clyde Elder says now that the company has obeyed the court's instruction to engage the union, they can move forward. 111 employees were given their 45 days notice effective September 28, 2017, but no particulars of any retrenchment packages were outlined in the letters.
During the period, the union and the company will engage in discussions with a view to either getting a better package, or if we can't get that, at least we get an assurance that people are going to be transferred into the new entity.
Meanwhile, the union has refuted a newspaper article today which claimed the CWU put forward 50 TDC employees' names to be considered for employment in the new tourism company, the Tourism Trinidad Destination Management Company Limited.
The union did not supply to TDC, to the government, or to anybody, any list of 50 names or 1 or 10 or any amount at all relative to persons being employed in new entity. We did not do that.
In other news, St. Lucia's Prime Minister Alan Chastanet is responding to University of the West Indies lecturer Dr. Tennyson Joseph's warning against the rise of businessmen, politicians in the Caribbean. Joseph identified Chastanet and U.S. President Donald Trump as examples of why businessmen as politicians are bad for society. He sought to present Chastanet as an incompetent leader by showing members of a lecture he conducted a news extract of the Prime Minister experiencing difficulty piloting a bill through the nation's National Assembly. But Chastanet says Joseph did not provide any evidence to substantiate what he was saying.
Well, first of all, I'm really surprised that Tennyson, given some of the articles that he's written in the past, that he's actually still a professor at University of West Indies. But further to that, I have continued to say that the comparison between myself and Mr. Trump as being business people stops at that point. My experience in government is long and deep. I started working in government in the mid-'80s as an economist. I had the opportunity in the late 80s and early 90s to be the director of tourism here in St. Lucia. I worked with Air Jamaica, which was a quasi-government agency with Jamaican government and also with many of the OECS governments. I came back and I was a minister of tourism in a cabinet for 5 years. So my understanding and knowledge of how government works is very substantive.
Well, the Prime Minister also hit back at the university lecturer by suggesting he was racist.
Those were some of the same things that he was saying about being a white man and all this previously, and we've seen several articles written by Mr. Tennyson which I think are racist. And I'm really surprised that the University of West Indies has not called him out on that, and that he would continue to be allowed to teach students in that area. But he's feel free to do that, but unfortunately I think that the facts certainly don't substantiate what he was trying to suggest in the story, I think.
The Barbados-based Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC, has announced plans to increase the number of papers that are marked electronically. CXC introduced e-marking in 2013, and Director of Operations Stephen Savory says this academic year saw the most papers being graded using this method.
In the 2017 effort, 231 papers were marked electronically, and out of these there were 155 that were regularly marked in terms of our scripts. There were 3 ebook markings, and then we had 73 e-coursework marks, and overall over 700,000 candidate papers were scanned, and approximately 8,000 markers were invited to participate.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, Trinbago Knight Riders into the knockout stage of the CPL after beating St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots. That's sporting development and more after the break.
It's time to explore, to feel, to love. St. Kitts, everything you've ever dreamed of, and more than you could have ever imagined. It's time to follow your heart. St. Kitts.
Join the Caribbean Broadcasting Union and its regional and international partners at the CBU Annual General Assembly, August 21st through 24th at the British Colonial Hilton Hotel in Nassau, the Bahamas, under the theme Digital Developments in Caribbean Media. Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Dr. the Honorable Hubert Alexander Minnis, will welcome delegates during the opening ceremony. Guyana's Minister of Public Telecommunications, the Honorable Kathy Hughes, will offer a keynote address on digital developments in the region. See the launch of the UNESCO-sponsored Manual of Social Media Guidelines for Caribbean Journalists, with guest speaker Jamaica's Director of Public Prosecutions, Paula Llewellyn. And hear from international media players about the new developments in digital television standards in Europe, the US, and Japan. And this year's Caribbean Broadcasting Awards Gala at the Atlantis Resort Paradise Island is not to be missed. Call 246-430-1007 to book your space in the 3-day conference and exhibition. Don't miss the CBU 48th Assembly at the British Colonial Hilton Hotel in Nassau from August 21st through 24th. Discounts on flights to the assembly on the official airline, Caribbean Airlines.
Trinbago Knight Riders raced to the knockout stage of the Caribbean Premier League after beating St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots by 4 wickets in Port of Spain on Monday. Batting first, Patriots posted 158 for 7 from their 20 overs. Opening batsman Shamar Brooks top scored with 37, while Jonathan Carter was run out at 31. Sunil Narayan picked up 2 wickets for 26. In the Knight Riders' reply, wicket-keeper batsman Dinesh Ramdin top scored with 59 from 35 balls to pull his team out of a rut on 89 for 5, and they were able to successfully chase Patriots' target and capture their 5th win from 6 games in the tournament. Also making a contribution with the bat was middle-order batsman Colin Monroe. He was caught on 36, while Samuel Badri and Mohamed Nabi picked up 2 wickets each for the Patriots. Staying with cricket, players will face a much more intense regional 4-day championship when the first-class tournament goes off in October. And that's because the 10 rounds of competition are set to be completed in just 3 months. The tournament is scheduled to get going on October 26th and wrap up on January 21st with a 9-day break in October and a near 3-week break from the Christmas holidays. Last season, the first class campaign spanned 5 months beginning mid-November and concluding mid-April. It included 2 breaks, a week in early December and 2.5 months to accommodate the Christmas holidays and the regional Super 50. As a result, the tournament restarted March 10th and concluded April 18th. Cricket West Indies manager for cricket operations Roland Holder said adjustments had to be made to the schedule because of the packed home itinerary. 3-time reigning champions Guyana Jaguars will raise the curtain on the new season with a clash against Jamaica Scorpions in Georgetown, while Kensington Oval will host the perennial fiery rivalry between Barbados Pride and Trinidad and Tobago Red Force. Windward Islands Volcanoes and Leeward Islands Hurricanes will do battle at Grenada's National Stadium. Veteran St. Kitts and Nevis sprinter Kim Collins gets a top job in the IAAF Athletics Commission. He will begin a 4-year term as a commissioner in January next year. Collins won 798 of the 1,182 votes cast in the IAAF Commission election in London on Monday. He was among 15 candidates vying for 6 spots on the commission. Director of Sport Anthony Wiltshire heaped praises on the 42-year-old sprinter who brought glory to the Twin Island Federation when he brought home gold in the 100 meters at the 2003 World Championships. Wiltshire says Kittitians and Nevisians ought to be proud of Collins' achievement because having done it on the track for over 20 years, he's still on the world stage. And for him to have beaten athletes from bigger and more renowned countries is a great achievement. Sprint king Usain Bolt says Jamaicans can still dominate in world events despite their poor showing during the August 4th to 13th IAAF World Championships in London. Bolt and other members of the 4x100 relay team missed out on a championship gold in the final when he suffered what appeared to be a hamstring injury on the final leg. The women also missed out on golden opportunities. In what was his final interview as an athlete, Bolt says that this year's World Champs was pretty rough for Jamaica, but he says the country has a lot more talented athletes who can bring back their country to the top.
It's been a rough championship for a lot of people. I think through the championship, we have tried to predict a lot of wins that we thought was going to happen, and I think like half the people were supposed to win did not win. So I think it's just a championship, you know what I mean? It's just been up and down. No one knows where it's going, and somebody tried to blame me, so I started it. So, but it's just one of those things, just one of those championships. Everything does not go your way. So it's all about just putting in the work, and hopefully the Jamaican younger athletes see, and the ones that are on the team see what's going on and go back and try to fix what they need to fix and just to train on and get better.
Asked whether he would return to the Mundo track if the opportunity arises, the sprint champion said he would save himself from embarrassment from coming out of retirement.
I think I've seen too many people retire and come back into the sport just to really make it worse or to shame themselves. So I personally feel I won't be one of those persons to come back.
And Jamaica's national athletics coach Paul Francis has rubbished claims of a disagreement among members of the women's 4x400 meter relay team at the World Championships. It's alleged that lead sprinter Stephanie Ann McPherson was dropped from the squad following a war of words with her teammate Shericka Jackson. The team without McPherson did not complete the finals in London after her replacement McLaughlin Wilby picked up an injury. In this report from TVJ's Ronaldo Brown, Francis sought to clear the air on the matter.
Francis, the coach of the women's 4x400 meter relay team, came in for criticism following the withdrawal of Stephanie Ann McPherson from the quartet selected to run the 1-mile relay. The criticisms followed a confrontation between McPherson and Shericka Jackson during a team meeting, but Donald Quire, the technical leader, found the circumstances of her withdrawal questionable.
Paul was the one who was the relay coach and a member of our team that came to me, and it's a matter of speaking to Paul was just as good as speaking to Stephen, but I'm sure Stephen called the shots. I just don't understand why all of a sudden, you come up with an injury. When you literally said, I'm not going to run with my teammate, which is disgusting.
But Francis has hit back.
When relaxing again, after they had started just about to start warming up, I got a message about one of the members, Stephanie McPherson, being not comfortable with her quad. Now, let me tell you about McPherson. McPherson has had a quad injury for about 2 months. Notice, after the semi-finals at trials, she did not run the final in the 400.
Francis also said he took further steps.
If Miss McPherson has expressed that she is feeling uncomfortable in her quad and not sure she can run, the first thing I should do, and I did, was to call the technical director and said, "Sir, have you submitted the team as yet?" He says, "Yes." I said, "We may need to make a change." I quickly got Dr. Jones, got him to evaluate her. He indicated that she might have a grade 1 strain in her quad, and it was really not what he would recommend that she necessarily run.
The veteran coach was also disappointed with Quar's comments.
Of course, the technical director felt that there was a connection with what was said in anger by the woman and what her situation was at this point. I would not have argued that, because guess what? I'm not going to run an injured athlete on a Jamaica team if I can help it, because the country comes first.
The team of Kristen Gardner, Nisha McLaughlin-Wilby, Sharika Jackson, Noflin Williams-Mills did not complete the final as McLaughlin-Wilby suffered an injury on the second leg of the relay. That led to speculation that McLaughlin-Wilby was not prepared to run the final, resulting in her injury. Francis says that's not so.
There was sufficient time, this was before the women even started warming up, that the need for change took place. So Mrs. Wilby had a full warm-up session and readiness. Secondly, we did baton changes right before we went out, and she was raring to go, changing very well, seeming to be in impeccable shape. So whatever happened on the track could only have been a mishap.
And that's sport. We'll be right back.
Carry Festa for you, carry Festa for me, carry Festa 13 Barbados. Carry Festa for you, carry Festa for me, carry Festa 13 Barbados. Over the years, since the 70s, they've come together in the Caribbean. Talented artists inspire creativity. Every territory exploded culturally. Carry Festa for you, carry Festa for me, carry Festa 13 for everybody. Mutual heritage, regional unity. Carry Festa 13 Barbados.
The government of Dominica and Discover Dominica Authority invite the world to the most unique and indigenous celebration of Creole cultures, the World Creole Music Festival, October 27th, 28th and 29th at the Windsor Bank Sports Stadium, Roseau, Dominica, featuring Marshall Montano, Movado, Sweet Mickey, Itana, Roman Virgo, Class, Yemi Alade, Kai, Zuko Stars, Bungie and Fayan, Triple K International, Ace Banton and more. Visit the DominicaFestivals.com for more information. Say Musicano!
A recap of the major developments of this day. St. Lucia considers imposing visa restrictions on Venezuelans. And in sport, Trinbago Knight Riders into the knockout stage of the CPL after beating St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport round the clock, log on to CanonNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow, but from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and have yourselves a good night.